I was introduced to a quote today that perfectly encapsulates what I want to share with you in today's episode. The quote is from a book by Liz Weissman called Rookie Smarts: Why Learning Beats Knowing in the New Game of Work. And here's the quote: Certainty is one of the weakest positions in life. Curiosity is one of the most powerful. Certainty prohibits learning. Curiosity fuels change. Now, here's the thing. I don't like the feeling of uncertainty. So when I heard this quote, part of me was thinking, yeah, that makes so much sense. And when I thought about talking about it today with you, I thought, I cannot talk about how awful certainty is. And then I started to wonder if that's really the two opposites. And that's what we're going to explore today. So if you're at all curious about certainty versus curiosity, then I invite you to stick around. And it's the perfect quote because we are changing the name of this podcast. And when I went into the conversation about that, I was certain. I was certain that we were going to say all the damn things. But I allowed myself to be curious in the conversation with one of my mentors. And throughout that conversation, it became very clear that the name of this podcast should be Take the Damn Chance, because that's what I'm all about. I'm all about you taking the damn chance on yourself, to stop pushing that dream to the side that's in your heart and to start living your big, bold, wonderful life. Welcome to Take the Damn Chance. This is the podcast committed to supporting women in achieving their dreams, even after going through deeply challenging experiences. My name is Bevin Farrand, and I'm also the creator of the Do the Damn Thing method. Yes, I say the word damn a lot, but it does mean something. It stands for Decide and Declare, Attend Your Own Party, Moments Not Minutes, and Now is the Time. When it has come to navigating my own deeply challenging experiences, this framework has changed my life, and I know that it can make a huge impact on yours. When I first heard that quote about certainty versus curiosity, like I said, I was really intrigued. I was curious about how that could show up in my life because I hate the feeling of uncertainty. I don't know about you, but uncertainty causes a lot of anxiety. And what I'm realizing is that, for me at least, uncertainty can sometimes cause paralysis. And so as I thought about it, uncertainty isn't necessarily the opposite of certainty, or maybe certainty isn't the opposite of uncertainty. The opposite for me of uncertainty is action, is the willingness to get into action and not know exactly where I'm going, be willing to pivot and to tweak. And maybe that is curiosity. Maybe the opposite is just being willing to be curious and explore and being uncertain, but not being paralyzed. I think sometimes when we have that feeling of uncertainty, we feel the need to figure it out with a definite answer. And that is where that weakness can come in, because we're never going to have a definite answer. And when we are so certain of our stance and our position, then we're not open to the possibility of it being a little bit different. When I thought about this episode at first, what I wanted to talk about, and I still want to talk about, is my disbelief in signs. I say this often. I don't believe in signs. I don't believe everything is a sign. And I've been saying that so much that recently, when I was tested on that, I held firm. I said, I don't believe in signs and I'm really being tested. I recently had surgery. And as we were coming up to the surgery, things started to go wrong. My nanny was sick that day, so I wasn't going to have childcare for the surgery. I had accidentally been taking Advil too close to the surgery date. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, are these signs? Are these signs that I should cancel the surgery? I said to my sister over and over, my disbelief in signs is really being tested. Part of me was terrified that something bad was going to happen during the surgery. And so I went in very nervous. And since that surgery, everything is fine. I'm healing. It was a minor surgery. But since that surgery, I've started to ask myself about my disbelief in signs. Because I do think, actually, here I am admitting that I wasn't so certain, that I'm not so certain. I do think there are signs. But what I don't think is that there are signs that are telling us that we have to do something a certain way. I think that maybe signs are an indicator that you need to slow down and think about what's happening around you. Decide if you're on the right path or if you want to make a shift. So I don't think there's signs out there that are pointing you in the right direction. But I do think that there can be things that happen in your life that are signs for you to get curious. I had a business partner back when I lived in Chicago, and we were creating an event together. And I remember so clearly, we were sitting in Panera, having coffee, working on these projects together, and we were leaving, walking through a parking lot, and she was telling me about this thing that had happened, and this thing that had happened, and this thing that had happened. And she said, are these signs that I should move? I think she wanted to move to DC. Are these signs that I should move to DC? Are these signs that I should make a big change? And I looked at her and I said, I think these are signs that you are looking for a sign. When I look back on my life and the big things that have happened, sometimes there have been signposts along the way. Sometimes there have been signs that something big was going to happen, and I just didn't notice them. Sometimes I did notice them, and I wondered what they were about. Sometimes I noticed them and ignored them. And part of the reason I feel like I have ignored signs was because of this disbelief in signs that I have stated over and over again. And now I'm just wondering if I can change my stance on that. And I know that I can because I've gotten curious about it. So now I am starting to explore this idea that I'm not looking for a sign to tell me what to do. I'm not looking for signs to tell me something's going to go wrong. But when I start to see signs, I can start to get curious. Because what I do know is that when you don't listen to signs, they sometimes just get louder. When your instinct tells you to do something, when your instinct is pointing you in a direction and you ignore it, then it just might get louder. It's the same thing when we ignore our body. If your body is getting tired and you ignore it and you keep pushing harder and harder, that's when you get really sick or you get really hurt because your body is getting louder to get your attention. So my invitation to you today is to allow yourself to be curious. Maybe there's something that you have been so certain on. And if you've been feeling that, where can you invite in some curiosity? I've heard it called the beginner's mind. Where can you approach this with the beginner's mind? I don't think that uncertainty and certainty are the complete opposite. I think that the opposite of paralysis around uncertainty is getting into action, getting curious and being willing to move your feet. And I know that the moving your feet is such a critical piece. If you know the do the damn thing method and the damn framework, then now is the time is built on this idea of getting into action. We don't get inspired to get into action. We get into action and the inspiration catches up. The paralysis that we often feel around uncertainty, around anxiety, is just inertia. It is an object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. We need to take the tiniest little micro action in the direction of our damn manifesto, of our yes. Then we start to take bigger micro actions. They come faster, they get easier, and we start to build confidence. We start to gain that inspiration. And from curiosity, that's where we can change the world. And the other thing I'm curious about for you is, how do you want to change the world? What are the big dreams you want to bring to life? And so I invite you to jump on a call with me and tell me all about them. I'm offering a limited number of free calls, one-on-one calls, no obligation to you. And if you are curious about that, then I invite you to go to callwithbevin.com and we'll schedule a time where you can tell me about the big things you are up to in the world so that I can cheer you on. Thank you for being with me here this week, and I hope you'll join us next week on the newly named Take the Damn Chance podcast. Well, look at you, taking the damn chance on yourself. Thanks for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. And if there's someone in your life who needs a little boost of inspiration, I would love it if you share this episode with them. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on all the social platforms at Bevin Farrand or on my website, bevinfarrand.com. And be sure to let me know what you want to hear next on Take the Damn Chance.